one's for the birds, this one's for the city. This one for the fans that bleed green with me. Push down the 95 to the right is the link. With a team pulling up, knowing that they getting beat. Exit Broad Street, right on Patterson. Xfinity Live, CPP, what's happening? Dub F Lie, stop by F1. Fly, Eagles fly, you hear the song getting sung? What team in the league is number one? Bird gang, yeah, I said it twice. You heard me say it once, now you sure you heard it right. No lies being told, yeah, it's all facts. It ain't me, Green or Kelly, we don't rock with that. Any given Sunday, we don't ever slack. Yeah, we got an SP, time to run it back. And even on the road, yeah, we taking over. All you see is sea of green like you at the Nova. Care less about your squad, bro, it's only us. A cheesesteak tailgate, yeah, we good, bruh. Beer pong baptism, you already know. Con shot, tomato pie, bring 3 or 4. After every bird game, you know where to be. 4th of Jawn, NBC, in the heart of Philly. About the birds, all about the birds. EROCK, son is Hollywood Heard. Look up.
Here we go, broadcasting live from NBC Sports Philadelphia studios in the heart of the Wells Fargo Center. Welcome to a very special wild card NFC East Champion edition of the 4th and Jawn podcast, episode 117. Well, boys and girls, listen, that's a wrap. That's it. It's finito. Regular season is over. Triple zeros on week 17, and we got nothing else to talk about. It's a wrap. It's done.
Is it though?
For the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, and especially the Dallas Cowboys. How you doing, Dallas fans? It's your old buddy EROCK. Look, I'm going to need you to do me a favor. I'm going to need you to take a nice, comfortable seat on the couch over there next to your buddies, the Giants and the Redskins. Make yourself nice and comfortable, all right? Because you're going to be watching that team that you wrote off after week 7, the Philadelphia Eagles, play some playoff football. So enjoy the seat from the couch. Make yourself nice and cozy. Can I get you anything? Would you like a soda? Perhaps some chips? Can I get you a cookie? Can I get you a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Perhaps I can give you a cookie. Would you like a cookie? But listen, I don't want to make this intro long-winded and dissing Cowboys fans because honestly, I felt like I've done that enough over the last 2 weeks. Instead, I would rather talk about the team that actually matters in the NFC East, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry, the NFC East champion Philadelphia Eagles. I am going to say it with my chest because look, Eagles, I know it's been kind of a rough relationship between the fans and the team. It's been kind of emotionally abusive at times. It's been kind of toxic at times. If you were to put a Facebook status update on it, beyond complicated is beyond what it would be. It would be kind of complicated with us. We've been at the top of the Ben Franklin Bridge, ready to jump off. You talked us down. We've booed you. You disappointed us. All that sort of things. But as we stand here ready to go to the playoffs and host a playoff game at Lincoln Financial Field against the Seattle Seahawks, I want to tell you that I'm proud of you. I am. As we stand here at the end of the season, I am proud of you. I am proud of you for embodying everything that this city is about. I am proud of you for showing the nation what the Eagles and the city of Philadelphia, what makes them uniquely Philadelphia. And that is you made mistakes this season. You made coaching mistakes. You made turnover mistakes. You made penalties. But you know what? Nobody cares. Quit your bitching. Work harder. You've gotten knocked down this season. You've gotten punched in the mouth and dropped down by lesser teams, by better teams. But you know what? You didn't let that keep you down. Nobody cares. Quit your bitching. Work harder. And you've had to deal with adversity when it comes to injuries. My God, it seems like annually I am saying this season after season. But after losing your top 3 receivers missing time, your top 2 running backs missing time, your top tight end missing time, your right tackle missing time, your left tackle missing time, your defensive ends missing time, you got defensive tackles missing time, you've got linebackers missing time, you've got cornerbacks missing time. After all of that, you still came through in the end because you realized you had to quit your bitching, nobody cares, and you had to work harder. I'm proud of you, Eagles. Honestly, as we stand here, I am proud of you. I just want you to know that. And I don't know how far, Eagles fans, I don't know how far this playoff run is going to last. I don't know if we're one and done in the playoffs. I don't know if we're going to upset some people. I don't know if we're going to make some noise. But what I do know is that the Eagles at home are 1.5-point underdogs at home. And what I do know is being underdogs.
Bringing it back out?
There's only one way to handle this.
Guy. Oh.
Bring it on, bitches. Mr. Gale Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing excellent. Cloud and I myself, man. I mean, we went through the trials and tribulations of this season. We were in the rain. We were just standing there getting soaked. But at the end of the day, we just sat there and had a moment during the game, after the game, that moment when we clinched. And we just sat there like, yo, man, we're going to the playoffs, bro. We are going to the playoffs. But like you said, being proud of the Eagles, you guys stepped up when it mattered most. When I think about this team, the thing that sticks out to me the most is heart. One heartbeat, one city, one team, and one crazy diehard fan base sticking together the last end of the season. It's been, these moments where you're like, this football team, I couldn't be prouder. I'm at the pro shop trying to get a T-shirt just for the moment of I want to be reminded of what this team did in the last couple weeks. Is this a Super Bowl squad? We don't know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your record is. We're in the dance. We are in the dance. We have an opportunity to make a run. Look, this football team has a home game in the playoffs. Anything can happen. I mean, last but not least, Carson Wentz, man. Yeah. Carson Wentz was on his Jon Snow-ish. He was ready to fight. Carson Wentz from the Eagle family, taking on the Blue Walkers in the North. And then we had Dallas Goedert, rightful heir to the tight end position, stepping up. King of the practice squad, Boston Scott. The man with no face, Deontay Burnett, making catches, and Greg Ward. Players like these, Josh Perkins, another guy, are stepping up, and it's incredible. Like, I sit here like dumbfounded. It's incredible to see what they've done with the weapons that they had. And we're in the playoffs.
We are in the playoffs.
We are in the playoffs.
I forgot how hard it is to breathe with that damn thing on. Oh my God, it's been a while since I've worn this thing. Prime, can you do me a favor? Can you grab me my lid? Evan Hollywood Hearn, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It feels so good to be wearing all black in memoriam of the Cowboys season. You had the season in the bag, you pompous pigs. But you know what? You gave it up. You coughed it up to us. I can't believe the turnaround we've had in the past month. I remember just a mere, 4 weeks ago, we were sitting here doing this show, and we had fans submitting videos that were ready to throw toasters into the bathtub.
Oh, my God.
I was asking for a toaster myself, and now we're 0-0. We got a blank slate. We're moving one game at a time, and we are hot at the right time. Carson Wentz has been playing out of his mind recently. Yes. I'm sure we're going to get to this stat, but 4,000 yards in a season with no wide receivers reaching 500 yards. If you go and look at all of our stats from this season, it will be the fourth player on receiving yards list before you even reach a wide receiver.
Wow.
It's tight end, running back, wide receiver. It just blows my mind how we've been able to piece together an offense to make this work and to get us into the playoffs somehow, some way. But we got there.
Somehow, some way, but we got there. And that's something that I kind of want to do a little bit of a review of the season because, like I said in the intro, it's been such an up and down sort of season as far as the fan base goes. We came in with expectations, and it's been just an emotional roller coaster where, Gail, you and I are at MetLife Stadium watching that thing tick down to 000 and just like, wow, look how far we've come. Look at the journey that we've had. And football season, Eagles fans, I warn you, in the beginning of every single season, at the beginning of every single first show of the year, I'm like, look, we've got 16 weeks of football ahead of us, 17 weeks of football, and it is going to go by like that. So, let's take a look back. Week 1, at home, Washington Redskins. Wentz is throwing up over 300 yards. Deshaun Jackson's running all over the place. And all of a sudden, you start thinking that, like, this team is exactly what we expected it to be on paper, in the offseason. All the moves that Howie Roseman has made, they've been explosive. Sure, the Eagles kind of struggled in the first half, getting that chemistry thing down. Nobody played in the preseason, but they go out and they beat the Redskins. Week 2, Gail, you and I were there at the Falcons. What's like the injury bug once again came out and surprised us. Like a crazy ex-girlfriend just trying to ruin our life. The injury bug came out before the game even started. Dallas Goedert going down, Deshaun Jackson going down. We were like, here we go again. We're in another season where this is going to happen.
The Nelly dropsy bug as well.
Nelly drops it in the lights.
Yeah.
It's a game we could have won. It's a game we should have won. It's a game that if we did win would delay the is Carson Wentz clutch discussion because they would have come back in the fourth quarter, but it's a game that ultimately lost. Week 3 at home versus the Lions. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside can't come down with the pass. They blow another comeback, and all of a sudden we start questioning the receivers. Yeah. We start questioning whether Carson Wentz is clutch. We start questioning Jim Schwartz in the defense. All of a sudden, what we were feeling in week 1, week 2, away game, Sunday Night Football, understandable. Week 3, we start panicking, right? Do you remember all this stuff?
Yep.
I do.
Week 4 versus the Packers. Never mind. Short week, Thursday Night Football, Lambeau Field, Aaron Rodgers. Carson Wentz puts up 300 yards, and they keep at least Aaron Rodgers in check as best they can, and they come out with a victory that we had all penciled in as an L going into the season. All of a sudden, next thing you know, week 5, you're at home versus the Jets. That game didn't really count. That was just kind of like who was that quarterback that we played? Nobody even remembers who the quarterback was.
Falk.
Who?
Luke, what the Falk?
All right, make sure we don't have to hit the dump button. Falk? Is it Falk?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And all of a sudden we're 3-2, feeling pretty good about ourselves. Vikings. We have to go to the Vikings. Secondary's getting lit up like a Christmas tree.
That was rough.
Kirk Cousins is out there looking like Joe Montana. All of a sudden can we hang? This is the second time we got beat up by Minnesota. We start questioning things again. Yep. And then week 7 at the Cowboys. Fumbled our way to a 14-point deficit that we could simply not dig ourselves out of, and then all the questions. And then we start questioning everything. Yep. Is it true? Is Dak Prescott better than Carson Wentz? Is this Eagles team even capable of playing in the big games against it? Oh my God, is Dallas the real deal and the Eagles are frauds in the NFC East? We start questioning everything. So we go in 3-2, winning record, feeling pretty good about ourselves, coming off of not only the Jets, but the Packers, and then 2 weeks later, we're 3-4. We go up, we go down. Week 8 versus at the Bills, the Orlando Scandrick bounce-back game. I feel like that's where the Eagles started to find their identity as far as the run game and utilizing the tight ends and dinking and dunking and not trying to push down the field. Week 9 versus the Bears, total domination. Feels like the Bears had negative yards going into the fourth quarter. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're 5-4. You had a winning record, you had a losing record, now you're back up to a winning record. Patriots, golden opportunity against a better team. You blow it. Nelson Aguilar, once again, can't wait to stop talking about this guy. Can't wait to stop saying his name on the podcast. Can't wait till he's wearing another uniform and he's not in Philadelphia whatsoever, but blows it, trying to track a ball. Week 12 against the Seahawks, another great opponent. At the time, a superior opponent. We'll see when they come to the link once again. But 2 golden opportunities against 2 winning teams. You go 5-4 after the Bills and the Bears. Now you're back down to a losing record. Disaster strikes in Miami. Disaster.
Fitz magic, man.
Absolute disaster. And then the last 4 games of the season, you start proving all the doubters wrong. You start checking all those boxes. You start catching fire at the right time. Carson Wentz coming back. Monday Night Football against the New York Giants, leading them in the fourth quarter. Doing it again in Washington, D.C., a game Gail and I that we will always remember. Dak comes up small when he comes up to Philadelphia. Division on the line, beat the Giants. Like, it's been such a topsy-turvy. I wanted to kind of recap it because we forget. It happened so quick. We forget about that ass kicking we received by the Minnesota Vikings, and remember that we had to get off the mat to go do that. We kind of forget of winning against the Bills and kind of finding our identity.
Yeah.
It's been like you said in your intro, Gail. It's been a journey, man.
It has been. I mean, there's a good quote from Malcolm Jenkins talking about after the Miami loss. He said it was either going to go two ways. We were either going to nosedive into the offseason, or we would stand up and make plays. After the Miami game, we had to make the decision of who are we going to be. That loss definitely was the most challenging point. We had to make a decision of who we were going to be as a team, and we responded the past month accordingly. You're looking at players, stepping up. Even Fletcher Cox even alluded to it about the younger players on the practice squad. They brought the team together closer. And Malcolm Jenkins, another guy, a leader, in one of the biggest games of the year last night, coming up with a strip fumble. I mean, guys are just stepping up, and it's contagious, bro.
It's contagious.
There's a moment where you look around at your teammates and you see guys making plays, and you're like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. If a guy goes down, a guy like Matt Pryor comes in. For a guy like Brandon Brooks steps in and does fairly well. A guy like Deontay Burnett, who half the people don't know his name, comes up and make a ridiculous catch.
When he caught that pass, I had to tweet it out. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Dude, I mean, in terms of like what makes these last couple wins over the last couple weeks, it's the guys that are doing it. And you can see it in their every movement of their body. Those guys are so hungry. These guys aren't getting paid out there. These guys are off the street.
Yep.
And they're out there wearing their heart on their sleeve for Carson.
And that's one of the things that I think that we had talked about when we were struggling earlier in the year, and we were wondering, does he have the ability to make these wide receivers better? Or because we were thinking, he's throwing some balls that aren't accurate. He's, maybe he just doesn't have the connection. I think Carson has proven that if he's got hungry wideouts out there, he can make them better.
Yeah, it's become crystal clear that Carson Wentz needs his own guys. We talked about this on the last podcast. I mean, it has never been, nothing's ever been more apparent in my lifetime watching the Eagles that I did not expect and seeing that Carson Wentz needs his own guys. And now we're checking the boxes, man.
Yeah.
With Carson Wentz. Like I put out a tweet that was the Carson Wentz hater checklist. Like, you guys look foolish right now. You guys look super dumb. Some of it's in our own fan base.
The receipts were being dug up today.
Yo, let's keep it one. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it real.
Yeah. I like that the receipts are being out there.
Yeah,
because I mean, we've seen them. I haven't really talked about a lot of them, but I remember. The North remembers. Okay, you know what I mean. So
you're looking dumb.
You're
looking dumb.
Are you an Eagle fan or not? At the end of the day, like all these.
And listen, part of me understands it. Part of me gets it. Because there was once upon a time where Sam Bradford was the quarterback, and I was a Sam Bradford hater. I didn't want to see the Eagles fail. I didn't want to be right on my takes about Sam Bradford, but I couldn't stand the guy, and I couldn't wait for him to be out of Philadelphia. I couldn't wait for them to draft Carson Wentz. So I want to keep my hypocrisy a little bit in check and say that, listen, I kind of understand the people who are still butthurt that Nick Foles isn't here, that Carson Wentz is a quarterback. But right now, you look foolish. You look stupid. Because he's been checking the boxes. He doesn't make his receivers better. Yes, he does. He just had too many of those Nick Foles holdovers from the Super Bowl run. Like yourself, maybe you should go find employment elsewhere. You know what I mean? Maybe you should go along with him. He needs his own guy. He doesn't make his receivers better. Check that list. Can't take the team to the playoffs. Check that list.
16 games.
16 games. Check that. Isn't clutch. Check that. Can't come back in the fourth quarter. Check that. Can't lead the team down the field. Check that. He's checking all the. He's one game away. One W away. One victory away from having only one more box left to check. Like, if he wins a playoff game and checks that box, if he beats the Seattle Seahawks, 4 o'clock, 4:40, whatever it is on NBC on Sunday, you know what boxes left to check? Win a Super Bowl. That's it. That's all the haters will have. That's all you. So now, right now, you're looking dumb. You're looking stupid. You've been rooting against this team, so your horrible takes have been correct, and you're looking dumb about it. Because he's proving you wrong with backup and practice squad players, dudes that were bagging groceries.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz is writing his own story right now. He's making new chapters.
Yes.
Where other folks were waiting for the downfall. Now we're off to the next chapter of the playoffs. So, I mean, hats off to Carson for, really taking that leadership role. And you see the younger guys really embracing him. Maybe the older guys weren't buying into Carson or his sense of leadership. Maybe I don't know what it is over the last couple of months, but together as a unit, you could see them believing. And that's one of the messages that Carson Wentz had over the last couple of weeks is believing. You got to believe, and sometimes if people don't have the same vision as you, you got to step to the left. If you guys got guys that really want to be there and make things happen, I think that's an important part for this last couple of weeks in the run.
Absolutely. And when we take a look back at that season and we go through, I know it was a little long-winded, but we go through just to remember everything that we went through. The funny part about all that, and the funny part about everybody believing, and the funny part about catching fire right here, right now, the funny part, as you mentioned in your intro, Evan, the funny part of just being here is we're exactly where we thought we would be at the beginning of the season. Like, that's the weird part. We're exactly where we thought we would be. Look, Eagles fans, every one of us had a unique expectation when it came to this season. I expected them to be like 10-6.
Yeah.
Gail, I think you expected a little like
You weren't far off.
13-4.
13-3?
I think 12-4.
12-4?
Yeah.
All right,
11 and 5-ish, yeah.
Okay, so if you took everybody's expectations, of course you're going to have like the people that they think they're automatically going to the Super Bowl, and that's kind of, they're going to be they have the first seed on lock. They're going to have a first round bye. It's going to play. They're going to be the number one team going into the. Listen, that's to the extreme. There was a small minority that saw them, 9-7, maybe 8-8, not making the playoffs. But if you kind of take the average of everything, take the mean of everything, it was 10-6, 11-5, 12-4, somewhere around there. You win the division. You host a home playoff game. Despite all the ups and downs that we previously just spoke about, despite the surprise that we find in our hearts right now, that the fact that the Eagles are even in this position, despite the fact that they're getting hot at the right, we're exactly where we thought we'd be, which is just mind-boggling at this point. We're exactly where we thought we'd be, and even let's say even there was something on top of that, like we won the game against Atlanta, where Nelson Aguilar had that tutty just drop in his lap and then drop the ball. Or J.J. Arcega-Whiteside catches it against the Lions. Or Nelly's able to track the ball against the New England Patriots. You take any one of those games, even if they won against Atlanta and Detroit, 11-5 doesn't get you past the 49ers, gives you the same record as the Seahawks. They have the tiebreaker. Doesn't get you past the Packers, and would get you past the Vikings, doesn't get you past the Saints. So in other words, even if they won those games that we were sitting here bitching and moaning and complaining about, being like, it shouldn't even be this team's record, we shouldn't even have this record right now, we should be doing so much better, regardless, we would be in the same exact position that we are right now. It's just mind-blowing to have gone through all of this.
And the best part about it is, right now, we're 0-0, man.
0-0.
We got a blank slate, heading in hot.
Plus, we're having fun.
We got our swagger back.
I think we got a swag. You know what's fun? It has. Listen, I'm not going to compare this to the 2017 season because that had it all. That I felt like when the stars aligned. 2017 was the first time that I actually tasted destiny. I saw what destiny tasted like. I saw this team going, they're winning the Super Bowl. I knew it by week 6.
Yeah.
I feel like the entire NFL knew, hey, this is just the Eagles' year. It doesn't matter whether it's hockey, basketball, baseball. Sometimes you can look when the Chicago Cubs won it. Sometimes you can just look at a team and be like, dude, this is your year. You're going the distance. So I don't want to push that 2017 feel on this 2019 squad. But what I will say is, even though I have reservations and doubts, and I'm not sure how long this little playoff run is going to last. After 2017, I told myself, never say never, never die, never quit, never give up, because once you're 0-0, as you just mentioned, you don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. You could shock the world.
Yeah.
We already shocked. Stranger things have happened. That's why I keep reminding myself, stranger things have happened, and stranger things was that 2017 season.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that it's kind of ironic, the opposite, like, parallel that's going on right now, where in 2017 we had the backup quarterback with all of the starters, and now we've got the starting quarterback with all of the backups. I think that parallel is pretty interesting.
You know what that is? That is an interesting little parallel there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this squad right now, I think there's a lot of unknowns. There are players that the league doesn't even know about, let alone this Eagle squad. They don't know what these guys have to offer. All these guys are offering something we don't know. I mean, a lot of question marks. But going into the playoffs, and when you're trying to like get tape on players, there's no tape on these players.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of unknowns here.
Right.
I want to bring up a tweet speaking about all the Carson Wentz haters and how it is amazing to be in this position. I want to bring up a tweet by one Warren Sharp, quoting, "Amazing stat, and the context is crazy. Carson Wentz is the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards without a single wide receiver hitting 500 yards. Along the way this season, Wentz has lost his wide receiver 1, his wide receiver 2, his wide receiver 3, his tight end 1, his running back 1, his running back 2. Finished the season with a college football quarterback as his number 1 wide receiver and a 5'6", sixth round. I want to say that like Iverson. 5'6", sixth round running back as his running back 1. If you were to say that out loud, Carson Wentz is the first quarterback with 4,000 yards without a single wide receiver having 500 yards. None of that makes sense.
It's incredible.
Like just do the simple math. Do the basic math on it. Okay, 4,000 yards. What does that mean? He's got 8 people under 500 yards. He doesn't have a wide receiver over 500 yards. That's the first time in franchise history. Again, some of you Carson Wentz haters looking real dumb. First time in franchise history that an Eagles quarterback is going over 4,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Philly Pod, Vic, who came up with that stat.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys who pointed it out.
Oh, he did? Okay, I want to make sure he gets the right credit.
But just thinking about this opening week, I mean, with the roster that Carson Wentz had before him.
Yeah.
I mean, are you serious? I mean, look at the guys he had at the beginning of the season versus the last game of the season. It's ridiculous.
The fact that he's been able to throw for more yards in franchise history with this ragtag group of wide receivers that we got is just unbelievable.
And if that never came up, if nobody ever said nothing, if that stat wasn't pulled by the Philly Pod, right? Would you have ever guessed that?
Never.
Would you have ever guessed that?
No.
I mean, judging by the way these Eagles have played?
It puts the things in perspective, though.
Well, let's put it a little bit more in perspective. Your top 3 wide receivers, right? The production of your top 3 wide receivers should be, at the very least, 60% of your passing yards as a quarterback?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna ballpark it, Alshon Jeffrey, 43 receptions, 490 yards. Deshaun Jackson, 9 receptions, $159. Nelson Aguilar, 39 receptions, 363 yards. Your top 3 wide receivers accounted for 1,112 total reception yards. If you combined all those, if you mushed all of that into one receiver, that wide receiver would be ranked 27th in the NFL in yards behind Odell Beckham Jr. That's what your number 1 wide receiver, and that's our top 3, bro. So let's take it a step further. Let's look at bad wide receiving cores. Historically, Eagles' bad wide receiving cores. We look at the 2016 wide receivers. The year Chip Kelly got fired. Aguilar, DGB, J-Matt. They accounted for 1,561, north of 1,500. Again, top 3 wide receivers for the Eagles this year, 1,100 yards. And he passed for 4,000 yards. 4,000 yards. 2001 wide receivers. Trash and Stinkston. Trash and Stinkston, right? It was Thrash, it was Pinkston, it was Fred X. They accounted for 1,702 yards. 1,702 yards between the 3 of those guys. The Eagles' top 3 wide receivers this year had 1,100, and he still threw for 4,000 yards. Some of you are looking dumb. Yeah. Some of you are looking real dumb right now.
And some people will make the excuse, well, he's thrown to the tight ends and the running backs. But, I mean, it's so predictable that he doesn't have the outside weapons.
Yeah.
What's he supposed
That's
to
a
do?
one-dimensional
You got the
game right
seams.
there.
Go to
Like-
the Tooth Fairy?
And you got running backs who are hats off to Miles Sanders with 509 receiving yards. I mean, that kid's been lights out in the receiving game. But without having weapons on the outside that distress the defenses know where it's going. But Carson Wentz is flourishing with the short game right now.
We had a guy that could stretch the defense for one game. One game.
I mean, imagine if you win one playoff game and he comes back.
And then he comes back.
It's a new story.
Yeah.
It is
a new story.
New story. I still can't get over this. Carson Wentz is the first quarterback in franchise history to surpass 4,000
On
yards.
this year of all
This
years. too.
year, and he's the first quarterback to surpass 4,000 yards without a wide receiver getting over 500 yards.
Jeez Louise.
Absolutely.
He's the first QB with one touchdown pass in all 16 regular season games.
Some of y'all looking stupid. So let's call it as it is. I mean, we waited till the end of the season to prove it. I've been critical of Wentz.
We all have.
I've bashed him when he needed to be bashed.
Yeah. Yep.
I've kept
Rightfully
it real.
so.
I haven't been a homer about it. I haven't been a Wentz
Called him out for the
apologist.
fumbles.
I've called him out for the fumbles. I've called him out on his regression on his technique. I've called him out when he's being sloppy. I called him out on his vision of the field. I'm rooting for the guy, card-carrying charter member of the PCN, the Pro Carson Nation. Right now, some of y'all looking stupid.
I mean, the other thing is, he's not throwing interceptions. We asked him not to turn the ball over, and for this run, he's been turnover free, and that's very key at this moment.
Over the
in
last
season.
4 games, all NFC East teams, Carson Wentz has averaged 67.69 completion percentage. Just a tick south, 299.75 yards. Just a tick south, 300. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now, granted, he has had 7 fumbles. He's lost 2 of them. So the fumbling thing. But if you looked at his, like when we were sitting there watching the New York Giants game, the one thing that stood out to me besides Boston Scott stepping up when needed to be, wide receiver Perkins stepping up when called upon them, dudes making plays, was just I was honing in on Carson. And I was just watching Carson. Because something that struck me about the Dallas Cowboys game was watching him hold the ball with 2 hands. Like, you remember how in previous weeks, like, I'm so pounding the table about the coaching. If he just gets the little things right,
Yeah,
if
the
he just
mechanics,
starts the mechanics, just the football 101 stuff right, he can be a more effective quarterback and be able to lead this team better. And that fumble that he had against the Cowboys, he had 2 hands on it, so the ball really didn't go. It didn't fly anywhere, right? So now I'm really honing in. We're sitting there at MetLife Stadium in the rain. We got our ponchos on, but man, I'm zoned in on Carson Wentz. Go back, look at the highlights, watch his footwork. Watch his eyes bounce from one side of the field to the other. Some that you didn't see a lot of.
Yeah.
And sure, there was some wet ball issues where he was you could clearly tell we were there. It was wet.
Yeah.
It was real wet, real cold, real slick. So naturally, he missed some passes. But I mean, look at him roll out, scan the field, pass the ball to the opposite side of the field.
Josh Perkins throw?
Yep.
In a spot where only his wide receiver / tight end, I don't know, his hybrid back at a roster guy that was cut on the practice squad, he puts the guys in a position. All of a sudden now you're seeing a confidence in Carson Wentz's game because he's starting to get that fundamentals right.
Yeah, that throw to Dallas Goedert and catch was amazing. Like, he threw that across the field. The thing that I'm seeing Carson, which is like, I'm just like, this is amazing. Like his poise, where you just hear white noise and he's working in between the garbage around him. He's just moving around the pocket and just still making plays where he's not getting shook. I feel like this last couple games and this run he's been on, he's on another level right now.
Yeah.
I think he's believing in his own self at this moment.
Not only R.I.P. to the Dallas Cowboys, but R.I.P. to the half-field concept. Finding the other side of the field, scanning. I mean,
look, it might. He still might be doing it. I'm sure there's still times where they are exercising that half-field concept where it's similar routes on both sides and he decides where he wants to attack the field based upon a pre-snap read and just goes for it. But what if you go back, just look at Carson. That's all I want you to do.
Watch
You
the
already know
eyes.
what Boston Scott did. Spin moving when he doesn't need to spin move. Kind of twirling around, bouncing off people, looking like Darren Sproles 2.0. Running hard. Focusing on Carson. Focusing on his fundamentals. Focusing on him protecting the ball and putting his receivers in spots. And he made some mistakes. Focusing on something. He missed Miles Sanders in the flat one. Still completed it to Goddard. But focus on what he's doing technique-wise. And you're right, Gail. He is playing on a more confident level. He believes in himself. You don't watch him play and feel like he has that Superman complex.
I mean, and also you have Big V on the outside. You have Matt Pryor. I mean, you lose Brandon Brooks, you lose Lane Johnson. You would think a quarterback in that moment would be like, oh damn, I might have to question some things, but that's the kind of leadership you want to see from your quarterback. And Doug Peterson alluded to Carson Wentz, reminding him of Brett Favre, one of the all-time greats. He's having this kind of moment. I think he just has to ride this high and progress.
So let's get some predictions. Let's get some key to victory. Let's get some talk about the Seattle Seahawks coming into the building and trying to beat the Eagles for the second time at Lincoln Financial Field. And it's always harder the second time around. The Seattle Seahawks team is obviously talented. They've got, it's not the Legion of Boom anymore, but it's a more than capable defense. The wide receivers, minus Josh Gordon, by the way, still pretty damn good. Running backs are taking a little bit of a hit. Marshawn Lynch came in last game, had a touchdown, a kind of an impressive touchdown, but really only had averaged like 2.8 yards per carry, so he wasn't that effective. How do the Eagles go, Gail, and do better the second time around, beat the Seattle Seahawks, and move on to the divisional round?
Well, I think it's important that they shut down the run. This run game isn't the same exact run game that they had the last season. I mean, the last time that they played. Containing Russell Wilson in the pocket. He's going to slip out. I think you could have someone spy on him.
Mm-hmm.
But Lockett. I know Lockett got hurt last game. I think he'll be back, but I think it's imperative that these young cornerbacks step up like they did last week. These aren't the giant receivers, but they got their hands full. I think Sidney Jones is going to have another game of his life here. Rasul, those guys have to step up. But I think you control the clock. You run the ball. Keep Russell Wilson off the field. Keep making these shot plays. But I think the tight end screens, the running back screens are going to be imperative for this offense moving forward. I love what they've done with Boston Scott. These running back screens have given new life. I think, I'd love to see some more tempo. Carson Wentz, once you get that tempo going, it seems like he feels like he's unstoppable because he's in control and he gets the rhythm going, gets the defense tired. So I think, control the clock, man. Keep Russell off the field, and the fans got to be loud, dude. The law of averages as well. How many times are we going to lose to the Seahawks? It's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Evan Hollywood Hearn, give me some keys to victory, some predictions. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
I agree with a lot of what Gail said. I believe that we have to lean on the run game. If you go and look at our running backs, our top 3 this year, Miles Sanders, Howard, and Boston Scott, they're all averaging 4 or more yards a carry. So I think that if we just continue to utilize that, bleed the clock, and really, as well as our run defense has been playing this year, I'm not worried that much about Marshawn. I think we can contain him. Yeah. I believe it's really going to be a step-up game for our defensive backs. I'm looking at their defensive backs on the other side of the ball and versus Carson. I really don't think it's far from the Legion of Boom. They're not playing nearly at the level that they were. The defensive line can create some pressure for sure, but I think if we roll Carson out and get him in a position outside the pocket to make throws, I think that's what the key will be.
Yeah. Their offensive line isn't that great as well. So
now you need to get the pass rush going, but you need to keep contained. Something that bothered me looking back at the Giants game was that, and you play every single offense a little bit differently with your stunts and the way you're utilizing your defensive tackles and the way you're utilizing your defensive ends, and they certainly got after the quarterback, but there were times where they were bull rushing so quickly that if you look at Danny Jones, like the pass rush just went past him, like both from the defensive tackles. And if Daniel Jones had one inkling of athletic ability in the ilk of a Kirk Cousins or somebody that can at least, or a Carson Wentz, somebody that can at least run, he would have gotten so many first downs. The Eagles have had trouble sometimes with contain. Being, you know what I mean? Derek Barnett's a perfect example on some of the run plays that he's given up, keeping contained. Even Danny Dimes, kind of rolled out a couple times on the Eagles to gain some critical first downs.
Yep.
Listen, whatever Daniel Jones can do, Russell Wilson can do in his sleep. Like, he can do it 1,000 times better. So it's not only rushing the passer, it's gap integrity, it's staying disciplined, it's not giving him any outlets, it's keeping him contained within the pocket and collapsing that pocket. When Russ starts to roll out or get on the move, he is an assassin. He is an absolute assassin. If the defense can hold Seattle to the same amount of points that they held Seattle to last time, 17 points, again, I think they win the game. If you were to tell me that the Eagles held Seattle to 17 points in the first game, I would have bet you that they won the game. But they had a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes. The offense shot themselves in the foot. So if Carson Wentz can continue to play what is in essence mistake-free football, not turn the ball over, right? Yeah. The last 4 games, not an interception. The fumble thing, hopefully 2 hands on the ball. You know what I mean? Don't give up those fumbles. And the offense can stay clicking like it's been clicking over the last 4 weeks against tough. And I don't care. You can say whatever you want about those opponents. They're division rivals. They're going to play you tough against tough opponents. If you can play the way he's been playing, Eagles have a great shot at winning the game. And also, Doug Peterson, don't get too cute. Don't outsmart yourself. He said it in the press conference this week. They found their identity. It is what it is. Just stick to what you're good at, man. Mm-hmm. Like, you've seen teams, inexperienced teams, go into the playoffs and try to get cute. This is what worries about me about the San Francisco 49ers, to be honest with you. You're not talking about an experienced team as far as going to the playoffs. You're not talking about an experienced head coach going to the playoffs. It's the same thing that, Sean McVay sort of fell into that trap. You're getting a little overthinking it. Mm-hmm. Getting a little too cute in the playoffs. Doug's been there. He's been there the last 3 years. Yeah. 4 years, and he's been there into the playoffs the last 3. This ain't his first rodeo. Stick to what you know. Yeah. Stick to where your talent is. Stick to your strengths. Stick to what got you there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's that football term, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. Like, at this moment, you got to play to your strengths. But, going back to some of the things you're talking about with Carson, that last game against the Seahawks, he had 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, turnovers, so many turnovers. Critical. He plays mistake-free football. And we get this. We really need to get the Seattle Seahawks playing from behind. If you get up on them early and make them one-dimensional and shut down the run game, like we know that they're capable of shutting down the run. They've been pretty great at shutting down the run, except for that run against Barkley. Other than that, the defensive line has a big test this week.
Our scripted plays on the opening drives have been good the past few weeks as well, though. So, that's one thing that we criticized earlier in the year, but that's another thing that's had a turnaround.
Good enough to keep Burrow one more year, guy?
Get out of here. Get out of town.
Hey, before we move on to the Twitter questions, Gail, give me a prediction. Who's going to win this game?
We are. I think there's new energy. I think the heart that this team showed over the last 4 weeks has been the common denominator. I wouldn't doubt them for a 5th week to keep the juices alive. I think the team believes. I think Carson's on another level right now. Seattle is not the team that we played earlier this season. I think we play mistake-free football. The Eagles do win. Mm-hmm.
Evan.
Take the under. I think it's going to be a very defensive game on both sides of it. I see the Eagles walking out on top, though, ultimately, 17-6.
Prime, give me an early weather report. Can you pull up the weather? Give me an early weather report. And who do you got winning the game, Prime?
I got us winning the game. No doubt about it.
All right, damn right.
Hot. We're going to stay hot.
Ben, shout it.
I had the weekend off. I'm just mad that I got work Sunday.
Get him out. Put him in a bench.
Spencer. Birds win?
Birds win.
Birds win. I think they win.
36 degrees and it's going to be sunny.
36 degrees and it's going to be sunny for once. Good. This is the rainiest season that I can ever remember. Like some years, like we look back and the weekends, they're dry, they're warm, and you're like, man, that was a great. This has been the wettest monsoon season that I can remember in recent history. Oh, so we're soaked constantly, soaking every game.
Nothing ruins a man's swag when you're sitting there looking like a wet cat.
All right, let's get to these Twitter questions before we get ourselves in trouble.
All right. Chris Wild wants to know,
Yeah.
do we applaud the Eagles for having these guys on the practice squad, or do we question why they were there for so long, like Hollins and J-Matt, why Hollins and J-Matt were starting over these practice squad phenoms we've got?
Listen, you don't know what you're having with a guy until you throw him into the fire. I've kind of said this before. I think it's more when you invest draft capital in an individual, you want to give that individual every opportunity to play and prove you right. Practice squad guys are kind of practice squad guys. I bet you there's a lot of players on a lot of practice squads that, given the opportunity, would look just as hungry. Maybe not perform as well, but be just as hungry and just as eager to go out there and make a name for themselves and live the dream. I don't fault, like, who in the NFL, give me another name or another team or another year that they just, like, benched all their starters and went with practice squad dudes. Like,
That's like an NBA move.
It's rare to see.
Yeah, say that out loud and think, does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So that's why it happened. It happened out of necessity. And it just happens to be working out. So I'm not going to, I'm certainly not going to bitch.
I mean, I think, the Nelson Aguilar thing, I think he was showing us what he was at the moment. Like, if he was in his mental at the moment and not in the right space, I think that's where the coaches needed to step up. I think Mac Hollins, he wasn't giving you anything for most of the season. I thought a guy like, Greg Ward, who's been doing it the whole offseason, preseason, in practice,
and when he's called upon,
he's been a darling for almost 2 years. He's the one guy that Coach Peterson would always mention in his press conference. I'm like, is he just saying that just to say it? But now we actually see what he's.
Yeah.
A lot of the beats were talking about Greg Ward over the off season and preseason. So I think I would have liked to see Greg Ward a little earlier.
Yeah, and it's easy. Hindsight is 20/20. I get it. Like, why were these guys who were struggling starting over guys that now are performing better? I get it. At this point, I'm just happy that things worked out. What else you got?
Mr. iFlow wants to know, who is going to be the player of the game for us this wild card weekend?
I'm going to go Carson Wentz.
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
He's got to be great.
I mean, listen, the story of the Eagles getting to the playoffs post-Miami disaster has been the performance of Carson Wentz and uplifting the supporting cast around him that was thrown into active duty. That narrative does not change. Like, again, the Wentz haters, y'all look stupid. Like, why do you think the Eagles are in the playoffs right now? You think it was Greg Ward? Greg Ward saved the season? You think it was Boston Scott put the team on his back, though? No, it was Carson Wentz. It was Carson Wentz. All right, making these guys believe, putting them in spots to succeed, throwing balls to it's Carson Wentz. So as long as he performs well, I think the Eagles succeed. I think the player of the game has to be Carson Wentz. Here's how much of a homer and not a hater I am. I'll criticize Carson. Carson Wentz cost you that game against the Seattle Seahawks the first time. Carson Wentz single-handedly cost you that game. That's on him. That's his fault. He's going to be the reason why you win this game.
And I think it's important
Y'all look stupid.
when we catch L's, who gets the blame for that? Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
He's got a series of wins, 4 in a row. You got to give the man his credit. People don't want to, give him the credit when
some people don't want to. Some people, I will respect a guy like ESP. who, despite all the Carson Wentz bashing, comes out on Twitter and says Carson Wentz has been clutch. He's been singing the praises of Carson Wentz. Like, I respect that. I can respect that.
He's getting hate though.
Why is he getting? No, he shouldn't.
I
He
think
shouldn't. If you're hating on a dude proves you wrong. Dude, that's a man. Man steps up and says, "I was wrong." The guys and pats the dude on the back. That isn't being turncoaty. You don't want him digging in his heels.
I'm just saying the North does not forget.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you, ESP.
This is a good segue.
I wish all the Carson Wentz haters would be like him.
This is a good segue for the next question.
Okay.
Because Shane KLZ wants to know, what's more bitter, a lemon or Orlando Skandrick on Undisputed today saying, how many playoff wins does Carson got, as his weak argument in response to being wrong about this team?
Yeah, that's just the thing. Like, they'll keep moving the goalposts. My man Ike Reese says that all the time. These Wentz haters keep moving the goalposts. They keep reevaluating. You know, I mean, they keep redefining. Like, if Carson Wentz checks a box, there's so much of a hater that they look at that box and go, well, that box didn't matter. Even though you made that box, you made this statement, and he checked it off. Now all of a sudden it doesn't matter. So all of a sudden you got to start talking about something else. He keeps checking boxes. Like, if Carson Wentz wins a playoff game, y'all gonna look stupid, first of all, and y'all gonna have one more box, and that Super Bowl box that Nick Foles checked after 52 years of franchise history. So it's not like everybody checks those boxes. 1 year, 2017, to destiny, and I'll always thank Nick Foles for what he did. But again, some of y'all look stupid.
Yeah, I mean, his Carson Wentz takes and his girlfriend leaving him are both making him look stupid. So
yeah, on a scale of like Orlando
rough a week
Skandrick
he's
to
got.
10, how good's your week going? Because I'm feeling pretty. I'm at a 10. I'm at a 10.
she's like, I ain't hanging out with no losers.
Yeah, bum ass, get a job.
All right, so Chicken Leg John wants to know, do you guys feel that the recent failed fourth down attempts against Dallas and New York are going to have Doug maybe second guessing himself this Sunday?
No,
No, I don't think so.
I think he's
Playoff Doug is different.
Yeah, playoff Doug's you read my mind, Gail. You read my mind. Playoff Doug is like, you can tell when Doug's trying to force his bravado. Like, you've seen it before, him going fourth down. And you're like, really, Doug? Are we okay? Are you sure? And then it doesn't work out and be like, Dougie. Playoff Doug doesn't try to force or fake the bravado. Playoff Doug puts it on the table. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's going to have any fear whatsoever. In fact, I think he's going to be even more ballsy, given the fact that his kicker, granted, he hit a 50-yarder against the Giants, but let's face it, you are coming into the playoffs with the worst record of any of the playoff teams. You're going to have to go balls to the wall.
I think they'll have a wheelbarrow right next to Doug on the sideline, carrying him around. Let's go, Doug.
Greg Ward throw a pass, I'm going to be upset.
If you don't see Greg Ward throw a pass, you're going to be upset?
We've been waiting.
It's coming. Like, yo, don't get too cute with it, but give Greg Ward the opportunity. Give Greg Ward the opportunity. All right, one more before we get on out of here.
Okay, so let's end with Mijo. He wants to know, how happy are you with this season, regardless of how it ends, as an Eagles fan?
That is an excellent question, because those expectations have changed dramatically as the season has gone on, right? So in the beginning, it was I think we even had this discussion on the air, Super Bowl or bust. Is that a reasonable expectation for this Philadelphia Eagles team? And me, I'm kind of sitting here going, well, if you feel like you have a shot, it should be Super Bowl or bust. You should, anything less than a Super. Like, if your team stinks, you shouldn't be like, Super Bowl or bust. You know where you're at.
Yeah, but looking at that team on paper going into the season, that's how we thought.
That's how we thought. Super Bowl what? My expectation, and I'm glad this person asked this, because it's not something we really discussed here, because now, like, we all have different expectations. And again, like I said in the intro, I can't tell you how long this is going to last. I can't tell you if they're going to upset people. I can't tell you if they're going to be one or done. I can't tell you if this is a Super Bowl team. I don't know any of that right now. But what I do know is I'm happy to be here. Just happy to be here. Like, think about how miserable it's been some of these weeks coming in here and talking to this microphone. Before these cameras turn on, sometimes we don't even want to be here. We don't want to talk about this. We're miserable. We're tired. It was a late game last night. We got our asses kicked. I don't want to be here. I want to do this. Spencer don't want to do this. Ben definitely don't want to do this. He wants to be back down in Miami doing whatever the hell he was doing. You know what I mean? So the fact that we're even here, it's like we're playing with house money. Ben, you up? You good? Okay.
You got the itis right now. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm proud of this football team. Like I have, regardless of how far, I feel like it's, I'm at a point where like anything can happen. But at the end of the day, I'm proud to see what they put on the field the last couple of weeks. They've been fighting. It's in the fight song.
Yeah.
Fight, Eagles, fight. And if I could see my squad out there fighting, scratching and surviving, that's what you want to see. That's like football 101. Like if you're on a football team and you see your guys like really giving it their all, it's inspiring to see. It's inspiring.
I'm going to narrow it down and make it a little bit more specific. If the Eagles lose against the Seahawks, do I still deem this season as a success, right? Because that's what we're getting into. That's what the question is. Wait, relax, dude. When it gets down to the nitty-gritty, if the unlikely possibility that they lose the game, would I still deem the season as success? And my thought is absolutely. We check the boxes with Carson Wentz, given everything that they've gone through. I can applaud a losing effort if they give that effort. If they, what I can't deal with is a Miami situation, but what they put on for the last 4 weeks, fighting, scratching, clawing, showing passion, showing belief in one another, being built for this time of year, believing in Doug, not giving up, I will deem it as a success, and I will look forward to loftier expectations in 2020. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, my man. Before we get on out of here, a couple of shout-outs. Shout-out to my girl, Sunny Anderson. Woo!
Hook up, man.
Did she hook it up for the Giants game? We were in this thing called the Coaches Club, which if you've never seen it, it's that section behind the Giants bench where the fans can actually be on the field. Prime's making fun of me because I'm a little short in the ass, so I couldn't necessarily see everything, but it was a very unique way to watch a football game. They had a sushi bar.
This guy.
All you can eat, lobster rolls and everything like that. It was such an incredible experience, so can't thank Sonny enough for the tickets. Those had to be expensive. I don't even want to know how much they cost.
You should have seen this guy at the sushi buffet. He was like the family members at the wedding buffet who don't really go out that much.
He was like Zeke.
Who couldn't stop himself. I had to take pictures. I'm like, dude, could you lay off the sushi?
Yeah, I was 4 plates deep. I was stacking sushi, like stacking chips. You know what I mean? So it was like a stack of sushi, then just pouring soy sauce over it and just.
And then he started getting bougie. He's like, yo, while you're over there, could you get give me a Diet Pepsi and make sure we put a flavor shot in there?
There's flavor shots, but I don't want to hear anything about bougie. Gail's outside.
Could you give me a lemon shot?
This friggin' guy.
Pepsi?
This friggin' guy is standing on the field with a lobster roll, and a hunk of lobster claw falls on the ground, and he goes, excuse me, I dropped my lobster on the field. That's how bougie he was. Yo, yeah.
I had a pretzel in my pocket. Like, I'm telling you, I was like that.
Oh, don't make it sound ghetto now. You were sitting there with your pinky out, eating your lobster roll. Don't make it.
You got to balance it. You can be bougie, but next time.
It's called bougetto.
Don't.
That's what it's called.
You can be bougie with the lobster tail and the crabs and all that. But don't forget the Tupperware so you can take some home.
Man.
I had Cracker
the
Jacks
Tupperware trick. We should have.
Series and college national championship.
I was eating Cracker Jack in the cart ride home.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
Did you stuff them pockets?
It was in the pockets, bro. See? I know.
Shout out to Concha. Yeah, he gets a little fist pound for that one. Thank you to Concha Hawk Bakery for supplying the food for the tailgates all season long. They've been one of our biggest and first supporters, so we appreciate it, Tina. We love you. Thank you to Bud Light for everything that they do, supplying the beer to the tailgates. Monster Energy for supplying the beverages for the tailgates. A little bit of tailgate info. We're going to do it one last time. One last rodeo, because regardless of what happens, the Eagles are going to be probably going to be on the road. We're probably not going to get another one of these, so we're going to go out with a bang. We're going to go out in style. It's a 4:40 game. I would anticipate the gates opening up around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Parking lot F1. Be there. It's going to be big. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy.
And fans, pace yourself. If you're out there drinking, it's a long day. Pace yourselves,
please. Reese, can you do me a favor? Can you stand right here? To everybody, turn around, look at the camera, right there. This is my daughter, Reese. All right, we're gonna. This is called a sign off right now. You ready? You ready? Wave hi to mommy. Mom. All right, so until next time, we will see you after the Eagles beat the Seattle Seahawks at Lincoln Financial Field to advance to the divisional round. Let's go, Birds, and we will see you right here again at NBC Sports Philadelphia.